Hey guys, it's Gameface here and welcome back to a new series called The Final Whistle. This is going to be a series that involves me sitting down talking about some of the games that have happened, whether that be in the World Cup or whether it be when the Premier League starts. Now, of course, right now we're in the middle of the World Cup and I'm going to be talking about the games that have happened so far since it started right back on Thursday with the first game with Russia versus Saudi Arabia. So I'll be going through some of the matches, not all of them, just the key matches, the matches that I thought have been the highlights so far of the tournament. And we'll also get on to talk about the England game as well, which I'm really looking forward to at the end of today's video. But before we do, if we could try and hit 100 likes on the first episode of this new show, then I'd really appreciate it. Also, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already as well. And if you're new to the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic too. Let me know in the comments section below. And let's crack on with things. Let's take a look, first of all, at the first game, Russia versus Saudi Arabia. Now, of course, the host kicks off this tournament with a game against Saudi Arabia, a massive match for them to try and kick off the tournament in style, to get themselves 3 points if they could. And, well, they didn't do too badly, did they? 5-0 against Saudi Arabia in the end. What a game that was as well. Plenty of goals, quite clearly, and some really good performances, actually, from the Russian players. There were quite a few funny moments in that Russia game, because obviously Robbie Williams just, well, I mean, he opened up the World Cup for us in style, let's say, with the performance before the game, which was quite interesting. Always looking forward to Robbie Williams performing, and he certainly gave us a memorable one before the match. I'm going to focus on the Saudi Arabia team a little bit though, because technically going forward, they didn't actually look that bad with some of their players. Individually, they looked okay on the ball, and I was actually a little bit surprised by the 5-0 thrashing. I was hoping that they would get themselves a goal in the game and maybe it'd be a draw or something like that. But the Saudi Arabia defence was shocking. I've never seen a defence so bad at a World Cup before. They were all over the place. I mean, I think you have to also look at the attackers as well. They were positioned totally wrong for some of the set pieces. That let them down as well. And by the end of it, I mean, Russia just ran riot in the end and they completely demolished the Saudi Arabia team and actually make themselves look potentially one of the candidates for second place now. For me, I was always expecting Uruguay and Egypt to be the top 2 places, but actually Egypt without Mo Salah didn't look so good, and so maybe Russia could nick that second spot. We'll have to wait and see as that group progresses, but certainly the opening fixture was an exciting one, plenty of goals, and hopefully was to set the precedent really for the rest of the games and the rest of the World Cup. But luckily it seemed like they took it fairly well, the Saudis. Well, I say that. Apparently there's going to be some sort of repercussions for the players after that 5-0 thrashing. What that means, I'm not really too sure. I guess we'll wait and find out over the coming days. For now though, it seems like most of the players are still alive, so that's a start. Moving on to the next game that I want to talk about, and of course it's Portugal versus Spain. Who doesn't want to talk about Portugal versus Spain? What a game that was. Arguably the best match so far of the tournament. 6 goals for us in that game, so more goals once again. This game was a big one for us. Portugal started off by getting themselves a goal. It was all looking so good for them. They got themselves a goal. Ronaldo obviously scored from the penalty spots, and it all looked like it was going to be okay for them. They seemed to start off all right. Spain got into the game a little bit more, got themselves an equalising goal. Then Isco hits the bar with a wonder strike. I can't believe that was it was an incredible hit, was that, from Isco on his right foot. Came off the bar and sadly didn't go in the back of the net. Then suddenly David De Gea makes the biggest mistake you'll ever see in World Cup. Either that or Rob Green's. Which, I mean, it was very similar. It was very similar, but we won't talk about that. Let's focus on David De Gea because he's a terrible goalkeeper now, apparently. But suddenly, Spain seemed to take control of this game. I mean, to be honest, they were in control for most of it anyway, but they just seemed to have lapses of concentration. And suddenly it was 3-2 to Spain before you knew it. But wait, there's one more free kick to be taken. The final chance of the game. Who's going to step up? Of course it's Cristiano Ronaldo. And what does he do? Bangs it top bins. Easy as that. It's just a free kick, get over it. So at that point, Ronaldo became the best player in the world. Does anyone remember it was actually a 3-3 draw? So both teams dropped 2 points there. Does anyone remember that, or we just think about the Ronaldo free kick still? Because, I mean, it was technically a point each. So it wasn't a win for Portugal, which it might have seemed like that in the last minute. So that game finished 3-3, both teams getting a point, and neither team managing to open up their campaigns with a victory, which is a bit of a shame for them, I suppose, but I'm not fussed. On to the next game now, and it's France versus Australia that I want to talk about. A game which, to be honest, Australia looks really good. fair play to them. They look decent. I was actually pretty impressed by how they played. They looked pretty strong in their team. I didn't really sort of rate them enough to think that they'd finish second, but now I'm sort of thinking maybe they will. Maybe they will finish second in that group, or even better than that possibly. We'll have to wait and see how much France slip up, but certainly for now, France do beat Australia 2-1, get themselves a decent enough victory. Didn't play fantastically, to be totally honest, did France, and had to scrape past really with that Pogba goal, which relied on goal line technology in order for it to go over the line and be counted as a goal. We've seen VAR used quite a lot so far in this tournament. It was used occasionally in that game, as well as other matches as well. There hasn't been that many contentious issues so far with VAR, but I guess we'll wait and see as the tournament goes on. I'm sure there'll be a few more headlines to be made with that technology. But that France game finished 2-1. Not the greatest game, but just a match that I wanted to talk about from Group C. Moving on to Group D, and the game Iceland versus Argentina. Okay, now this was obviously going to be one of those sort of games where Iceland come in, sit behind the ball a little bit, Argentina dominate quite a lot, and that's really how it played out. I mean, Iceland did have a good few chances, they did look good at times, but when they got that one goal and got themselves in front, quite obviously they were always going to sit back a little bit more and try and protect that lead. And so it became a bit of a situation where there's essentially 10 players behind the ball at all times, if not 11 to be honest, including the goalkeeper. And then it was just a case of Argentina having to break down that team and trying to get a goal. And obviously Argentina did get themselves one goal, but ultimately that wasn't enough to be able to get themselves a win. It finished 1-1, and people were talking about that as if Argentina had lost. It was ridiculous. Obviously they're supposed to beat Iceland, but I mean, as someone who's English myself, we know how difficult it is to beat Iceland. I mean, we lost. So, yeah, let's not bring that up. Let's not go into that. Let's focus on Argentina and how terrible they are at drawing to Iceland. How dare you? Although saying that, Argentina's team is much better than England's was in 2016, and still is. But yeah, Messi obviously missed from the penalty spot. That was a big turning point, really, in the Iceland-Argentina game. And I think, really, for me, Messi just didn't really seem to be totally at it in that game. He did have a few chances. You saw occasionally, I mean, he was just taking the ball from his own player. He was literally walking up to his own player, getting the ball off him, and going on an attack and trying to score. And it just seemed like they were really focused on giving it to Messi every single time. Now, I know Messi is the best player in the world, or at least he's in my opinion anyway. But you can't just have a team based around one player. We've seen, obviously, Portugal, you could argue, have done the same with Ronaldo, but I actually feel like Portugal have a bit more about them in their team this year in particular, that they do have other players that can step up in the big occasions, not just Ronaldo, albeit he did score 3 goals in that Spain game, but we do have other players in that team that can make an impact and you can pass it to and know that you're going to get something from them. That Portugal team does look quite strong, and I actually think the Argentinian defence doesn't look that great. I still have questions about the fullbacks. I mean, when you have Marcos Rojo as your starting centre-back, it's not great, and that Otamendi-Rojo combination isn't working that well, and we saw glimpses of that during the Argentina-Iceland game as well. So I think certainly Argentina did slip up against Iceland. I don't think it's a disaster. There's loads of games to be played, but they do need to step up a lot. They're already lucky to be in the World Cup in the first place. They had to rely on Messi, and it seems like they're going to try and rely on Messi for a lot of this campaign as well. So they have to, I think, try and look at other players. They've got Aguero in this team who obviously scored them a goal, and I don't see why they can't be put more reliance on Aguero and Higuain. They have some good players. Di Maria, they have a lot of talented players, particularly in attack, but also midfield as well. And I don't really know why they always have to give the ball to Messi. As good of a player as he is, it can make it quite predictable. Now moving on to the Brazil-Switzerland game. Now, of course, this Argentina and Iceland match kind of set the precedent for a few other matches in this campaign so far. Brazil-Switzerland being one of them. That finished 1-1 as well. Another situation where you'd expect Brazil to come out and get themselves a victory in this game quite comfortably against Switzerland, but they didn't. They kind of fumbled it a little bit as well, as many of the bigger teams have so far in the World Cup. And so they came out, got themselves a draw, didn't play particularly well. They had good chances, of course, during the game. Switzerland ultimately got themselves a goal, and that was always going to be a point where they were just going to sit back and they were just happy to sort of absorb all the pressure. And it's another situation where you just had 11 players behind the ball trying to stop every single attack, hoofing the ball away at times when they had to. But fair play to them. Switzerland did a good job. They did enough to get themselves a point, and I'll be very, very happy with that against a big team like Brazil, who I think I'm tipping Brazil and Germany to be in the final. So I think if you get yourself a point against those teams, you're not doing a bad job. Obviously, in that game, Coutinho got himself a goal. It was a fantastic goal as well. It's one of those typical sort of Coutinho strikes. Comes off the post, goes into the back of the net, and put themselves in front in the game. But it wasn't for long, though. though, so poor defending from Brazil from the set piece allowed that corner to go in, and it was headed into the back of the net by the Swiss player, and so that led to a 1-1 draw in the end. After that point, it was really attack versus defence, and seeing whether Switzerland were able to keep that draw at 1-1. Did a great job of it, fair play to them, and they got themselves an opening point in their first fixture. Now, a lot of the big teams obviously slipping up, not getting themselves victories. You look at Argentina, you look at Brazil, you look at Spain, and obviously Portugal as well, who they were playing. France have managed to do that, though, so they may be the anomaly in that. But if you look at the next game I'm going to talk about, Germany versus Mexico, another situation where the bigger team doesn't get themselves all 3 points. In fact, in this case, they lost 1-0 to Mexico. What a big result that is for Mexico, by the way. They played incredibly at times, particularly that first half. They looked absolutely fantastic, did so well in the counter-attack in particular. They just left 3 men forward every single time, did that Mexico team. They looked so good. Really impressed by the Mexico performance. Germany didn't look at it at all, and really disappointing actually. It lacked a bit of ruthlessness, and also lacked at times a bit of creativity. There was quite a bit of side-to-side, which I don't really expect from the Germans. You expect a bit more direct. And occasionally they did go a bit more direct, but the ball that they were playing, the long pass or the little chip into the box was a bit too straight, or he didn't quite find the right player. And so there was a lot of little individual mistakes from the Germans. They didn't quite look at it, but I'm still backing them to go on and win the tournament, I think, even though they have lost the opening fixture. Spain did the exact same thing in 2010, gave them a bit of a kick up the backside, and they went on to go win the 2010 World Cup. So there's no reason why the Germans can't do it. The Spanish did it in 2010 when they lost, and so maybe we'll see a bit of a bounce back from the Germans as well. That 1-0 victory, though, for Mexico was such an incredible result. We can't talk too much about the Germans because the Mexican players were so good, so much energy about them. And like I say, they kept 3 players in that attack, even at set pieces and things like that when they were supposed to be defending. They just had 3 attackers up, and it meant that the Germans had to compensate themselves. That left the German players with just 3 attackers in the box for most of those corners. Obviously later on that changed a bit, but initially the Mexican players were just playing so far forward, pushing the Germans back, using their energy and counter-attacking, and doing a really good job of it as well. They pulled that one off fantastically, tactically spot on, and deservedly got themselves 3 points. Now let's talk about the match that everyone cares about, and of course it's England. England versus Tunisia. Yes, the big game. Looking forward to this one. It's going to be a massive match to open up our World Cup campaign. As I said on Twitter, the World Cup starts today. This is when the World Cup starts, when England play their first match. Not when Russia play, not when anyone else plays, England. This is when it starts. Looking forward to the game against Tunisia, hoping that we can get ourselves 3 points. My prediction for the game, if I'm going to try and make a prediction, which is always risky, especially so close to a game, I'm going to say 2-1 England. I'm going to say that is what we're going to get. I think it might be at times a little bit cagey, but I think we'll just about get through and get ourselves 3 points is what I'm going to say here against Tunisia. I'm still thinking that we're going to finish second, though. I don't think we're going to quite score enough goals against Panama. I'm backing us for a 1-0 win against Panama. It's quite an early prediction, is that one, but that's what I'm going to say for that game. I'm hoping that Belgium can slip up in their opening fixture as well against Panama today. Looking forward to that one. Hoping that Panama can get themselves a point or a win even, maybe, having seen some of the other teams get surprise points as well. So, looking forward to that fixture anyway. My prediction is going to be a 2-1 England win. I'm hoping that we put out a strong team that's going to get ourselves a good victory there, and a confident team as well. That's what it's all about going into that first fixture. Confidence, not bottling it like we've seen with the Germans against the Mexican teams, and going out there, playing with a bit of fight about you, not being afraid, and going out there to try and get themselves the victory. So looking forward to that game, hoping we can come away with 3 points. Let me know your thoughts on all the games that I've spoken about in the comment section below, particularly your predictions for the England-Tunisia game. What do you think? Do you think that England are going to bottle it as well, or do you think we've got something in our lockers for this game against Tunisia? There's no doubt we're expected to win it. Will we win it? I guess we'll wait and find out. I'll be doing a video on that tomorrow at some point, as well as the career mode video, which will go out as well. So that's everything for today's video though, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed the first episode of The Final Whistle. Obviously things will be changing a little bit as we go into the transfer window a little bit further and the World Cup ends, that sort of thing. I'll be doing transfer news. I'll also be talking about the fixtures and what to expect from certain teams and things like that. And when the Premier League begins again, I'll also be going through some of the Premier League matches. I'll be talking about them and going through some of my highlights of the weekend. So that's what The Final Whistle is going to be all about. I'll also be answering some of your questions and talk about some of the things you left in the comments section as well. So you can feature in this show by leaving your comments, and you may well feature in the next episode. Thank you all so much for watching. The next episode will be out on Monday. This will be a weekly thing every single Monday, and I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' response in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, guys. If we could try and get 100 likes on today's video, then I'd really appreciate it. Also, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already as well, and I'd be so grateful of that. And don't forget to leave your comments so I can read and reply to them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Come on, England.